Hello everybody, thanks very much for tuning in. I'm Betty and I make a Feelgood Friday vlog, which I post every Friday, and I talk about cats, plants, snacks and knickknacks. What I often do is show you what I bought from the flea market, but this week I'm going to do something a little bit different. Don't worry, it does involve a thrifted flea market treasures, that's for sure. But I'm going to tell you a story about a little idea I had in 2008. I know, it's still there, and it's probably the most slowest occurring story in the history of slow occurring stories. Trust me, it is relevant to today. So sit back, relax, make sure you've got a cup of tea and a packet of biscuits as usual, and I am going to attempt to narrate my own stories. Here we go. I've called it the buying game, trading up from free, and this is part one. About 15 years ago, I accidentally and briefly turned up living in deepest, darkest Dorset, which is on the southwest coast of England, and I decided to play a game of trading up, just with myself. I'd had an idea to chain buy then sell, then buy then sell a thing, not for money, just for fun. The initial capital investment had to be found for free, and I could only buy something with the money that the last thing sold for. Again, this was not for profit, but pure entertainment, to follow the story of the items in the chain and my experiences. As I say, it started when I was on tour and stationed in Dorset in about 2008 or maybe 2009. So I decided to pick up a penny when I saw one on the ground and toss them in the coin tray of the driver's door in my transit van. Honestly, you really do have to scratch around on the floor to find something to do in Dorset. Don't forget, I come from London. So weeks went by, and one day I'd driven over to Bournemouth to see my mate's bike. And as I was walking back to the van, I saw a vintage green candle flame Avon perfume bottle in the window of a charity shop. It was 10 pence, 10p. Game on. Okay, yeah, I have to keep up with this one. About 2 years later than that, I sold the Avon bottle at a London car boot sort of antiques market for £1. After coming back from New York, it was a long, far-reaching and emotional tour, and I was selling some things before moving out of my beloved flat in Docklands to emigrate to Hong Kong. I know, I said, try and keep up. I can't keep up with myself. Well, it's almost 15 years later now, and 3 continents, some twice, and countless countries, moves and grooves, and a landfill of knickknacks bought but not sold. I must have bought 1,000 things for £1 since then, but now with that pound until now. Game's back on. Side note, fast forward to about 5-6 years ago. Okay, back in the story. I found myself in the position of owning both a house and a car in England during a heatwave and a party invitation to Spikes in Bournemouth. I thought I'd never experienced this level of comfort in my life, but here I am with a car called George Michael and a home rammed with all my knickknacks from a lifetime of foraging, truffling and travelling, and a friend who wants to see me. Peak level of life. I love a bit of serendipity and symmetry, so I decided I was going to pick up the buying game again. However, with one stipulation: the next purchase in the chain must be sold. The only way I would be able to release an item from my hamster storage cheeks is if I didn't want it. More challenging than you'd imagine if you actually want everything you see. So back to the story about the party. I'd booked an Airbnb room in Bournemouth that had gone wrong at 10:30 the night before I was supposed to leave. The geezer started arguing with me about something and nothing, so I pressed eject on the deal immediately. That's a lesson I've learned the long and hard way. In all my past lives, I would have tried to pacify him and tiptoed around on eggshells the whole time I was there, being uncomfortable and being extremely anxious. Now, fuck 'em. Tell them straight and delete them from your life, move on. However, This did leave me accommodationless at 11:30 the night before I was going to leave at 9 in the morning. But I was immediately delivered a bonus in being rescued by two old friends I hadn't seen in years and a safe and welcoming room in their house. Under Spike's orders. George Michael loaded up, house locked up, snacked up, tooled up, we're Bournemouth bound. I set a charity shop on a street I recognised the name of as my sat-nav destination, and it said we'd be there by 3. This is England, and the M5 is set up to fail, so I got there at 4:30. Within minutes of power knick-knack truffling, I scored a pair of suede-soled tango shoes for £2. That's £1 a foot. A vintage Gloria Hunniford-style half-sleeve jacket, £3. A glass scorpion, £1. And do you know, I think that £1 glass scorpion was in the same shop I bought the 10p Avon glass bottle. The planets of the universe have aligned. Game on, extra time. Party over. Of course, I naturally left the scorpion in a bag I thought wasn't mine in a friend's house when I left. Bollocks. Game's off. 1 month later, I get another invite to another party in Bournemouth. This is like the most popular I've ever been in my life. All the love is double happy in Bournemouth. Problem solved. Harmony in the universe restored. By some total miracle or absolute magic, my friends have neither binned nor broken it, and a top road trip, including 1 pink B&B, 3 cats, Tolly, Bobo and Al Capone, 4 towns, 2 mini Battenberg cakes, lost houses, vintage sofas, hot beaches, new friends, old mates, and 1 retrieved glass scorpion figurine is up for sale. So there we go. I will give you a brief photographic intermission now of all the stars featured in part 1. Part 2. A little bit of backtracking. I mentioned ever so briefly the item that I bought for the trading up game. What I'm going to do this time is give you a little bit more detail about the events surrounding that purchase. So here we go, part 2. If I were money motivated, or actually just even motivated, you'd expect me to have upsold to a Matisse by now. However, I'm not. And combine that with my hoarding needs, I must have bought over 1,000 things with that £1 Avon bottle sale, and I've kept every one of them. However, ever the ingenue, I cracked a plan. I went back to Bournemouth for the first time since the last time, and returned to the street where I bought the 10p vintage green bottle. It felt wholesome and proper. However, this time my plan was to buy something I didn't like and would therefore definitely want to shift on and up. First shop. There it was. Sitting in amongst the knickknacks on a brown wooden coffee table, which was not for sale, was a large clear glass scorpion in perfect condition. There was an element of primal fear about it. I liked it, but not enough to never part with it. I feel every one of its toes, nippers, tail, every little inch of it, just touching. It's got to be broken. It's got to be chipped. None. No damage whatsoever. So off we went with full hearts together to the counter. I think it's quite clear by now that I don't really buy things to sell for profit. I wish I did. I buy things for the sentiment and the experiences saturated within them. When I look at something in my house, the memories flash and flood through my mind, and they transport me back to the moment where and when I found it. It is a treacherous journey for sure, fraught with dangerous hurdles and traps, and if there's a rude or hostile shop assistant in the finishing line, the hunt and gather is ruined. Scorpion sales lady was warm and friendly, a typical Aquarian. We chatted about how strange and appealing the little creature was, and she sympathised with my Leo Chinese monkey curious character. £1 in the bag. Thrilling result. Riding high on success, I also found a pair of unworn suede-soled T-bar black and gold tango shoes in my size, and I still feel happy sick about that. They were £2. That's £1 a foot. Dance me to the moon. Later in the week, on a jaunt to Westbourne, I had a borderline exchange with whom I now refer to as the Mad Hat Woman. She was clearly exhausted from a lifetime of trying to restrain her own inherent spiteful nature with not so successfully passive aggressive comments. She was forcing herself to be helpful in my purchase of a black funeral hat. It had a torn veil and it was absolutely killing her. She didn't have to bother, honestly. I was buying it without a death to go to anyway. On my last day on my Bournemouth holiday, I thought my sales assistant luck had finally run out. It was in Southbourne. I had spotted a pair of vintage gold and black Chinese character cufflinks in the glass cabinet at the till and asked for a closer look. I always try to be polite and engaging with the cashiers. It's just nice, isn't it? I mean, it's just my way. Just be nice. So I playfully said, "Can you speak Chinese?" The rude and racist reply was, "Do I look Chinese?" It was not the response I was expecting. Damn it! She's ruined it. And now I can't have them because she's destroyed the glow. However, when I forlornly looked down to hand them back to the spiteful, racist shitface, sorry, my one-legged, pink-flocked reading glasses slipped down my head onto my truffle pig snout, and I saw 14K written on the stem of the cufflink. "I'll take these, please, £3. Turns out the Chinese character means fu, good fortune. Thank you, China. Fu you, Southbourne. That'll teach you. That'll learn you. Racist gypsies. Oh, God. From that same shop, it's not over, I spotted a vintage 70s short-sleeved Larry Grayson denim safari jacket. Unworn, £4.50. I've absolutely got to have it. I am having it, but racist shitface ain't touching it. So I put a "do not touch" magnetic spell on it, on this jacket. And I go off and do the rounds of the shops on the high street and then go back when the manager's on the till. Cunning plan. The final purchase exchange was all safe and sound, and I can't stop myself from doing a Larry Grayson wave and a hip bend with a call of "shut that door" upon my departure. The manager was greatly entertained. I was delighted and extremely proud of myself. Right then, off we go home at the end of a sun and fun-saturated stay with a bumper haul of vintage loot. Could not be more satisfied with my own keepsies, my treasure, but also the best is the game is back on with the wee scorpion. I wonder how I'll sell it. Will I be able to sell it? How much should I sell it for? Who'll buy it? I left it in Bournemouth. Honestly, I left it. I'll give you reasons why. In my entire life, I've been so worried about being in people's way or a burden to friends. I don't know. I'd booked an Airbnb for my trip and preferred to stay with any old weird strangers rather than impose my personality on my mates. However, in the confidence I have gained with middle age, I will now not tolerate a single tiny whiff of rudeness from said weird strangers. So, I'd ended up landing last minute on friends that I hadn't seen in 10 years because the Airbnb host had said one wrong word at 10 p.m. the night before I was due to leave. I cancelled. My eggshell walking days are long over. I'm too fat and too old for walking on eggshells. But honestly, anywho, that's just madness. We've all got our own madnesses. But back to my extreme not wanting to impose nature. When I was packing to leave their house, I didn't want to look in a carrier bag that I had forgotten was mine. It was in my room, on my stuff, in case it wasn't mine. Imagine living with this level of apologism. Anyway, I leave it, I go back for it. It's still there, we laugh about my idiocy, and everyone loves the scorpion. Scorpion comes back with me next time. That's the end of that. Here's a second intermission, and Begonia Coconut has just arrived down the stairs. You can have a little look at her. Hello, love. Hello, darling. This, of course, all happened before the days of Begonia Coconut, but excitingly, it was just weeks before. Hi, darling. Yeah. Have a drink of tea. She's having a scratch. Hello. Yay! Hello. Hello. Begonia Coconut. Hello, darling. I've got a feeling it's snack time. So, phase 3, it's much shorter than phase 1 and phase 2, don't worry. So I get home and I've finally, at long last, got the glass scorpion in my possession. Don't forget, this is the days before Begonia Coconut, so I'm just in this town I don't belong in this half-renovated house, and no plan. So I think I'm not keeping this scorpion. I'm playing this game. I'm going to put it on Gumtree. Gumtree was sort of hot at the time. It was still happening. And I advertised it. Little glass scorpion for sale, £15. Thought I was going to just get absolutely either no response or a load of, lunatics, as you normally do. Oh, sorry, love. Oh, hang on. Snack time. Oh, no, I think we're okay. So I advertised it. Immediately got a reply from the most delightful young man. I say young man, I just assumed so. And he said he wanted to buy the scorpion for his brother's birthday. That would be absolutely perfect. Come and pick it up. He said, right, he was a truck driver, a delivery driver, and he was going to come by and pick it up. He was going to drive for 4 hours to get this glass scorpion. I thought, crikey, really? Are you sure it's worth that? He said, yeah, he really, really loved it. He really wanted it. So great, made the plan. As I put the phone down, I thought it was an absolute raving psychopath and he was going to come and murder me. So I invented this huge elaborate safety story and told him that I was an interior designer and I was working in his street and it was miles from my home, and that I'll meet him outside this cafe called the Scallion. And he said, okay, no problem. He arrived a bang on time. I packed it beautifully and I said, okay, text me when you get here. He texted me. I legged it down the road. I think I might have put a bit of paint on my hands and make it look like I was telling the truth, in case he thought, she's lying. She's definitely going to get flung in the back of the van. But he was absolutely lovely. And he gave me £20. And then he was going to leave, and I was like, wait, your change. He was just going to give me more than I asked for, £15. It was just, it never happens. It was charmed. It was absolutely a charmed exchange. And that's perfect for this game because I never want it to be a burden. So that was absolutely sweet as. That was probably 5 years ago. That same week of him coming to buy the scorpion and having a lovely exchange, I was determined to buy the next item. So I drove up the seaside and I went into a sort of a junk shop. It was borderline antiques, but somewhere in between charity shop, junk shop, antique shop. And I went in. I didn't usually go in there because it's a little bit creepy. More than a little bit. It's really creepy. And it's the sort of place that you think you might sort of disappear in the back and never be found. Anyway, there was a little old woman sitting in there, and I thought, I'll just have a look, see what I can find. When I walked in, from the door, I could see on the top shelf two glowing bits of knackered old brass. What you mean, like this? Yes, I do. I mean exactly this. These. Bought them. I paid £15. I had to run out to move the car before I paid for them and then run back. The whole incident took less than 2 minutes, and by the time I came back, she said they were £20. I said, "Oh no, madam, I think I'll leave them." But we had a little bit of a tussle, and she finally gave in. I think she gave in more when her son turned up, and he owns the shop, and he said, "Just no, they're 15." She was like, not happy, but anyway, got them. £15. So that was about 5 years ago, and I decided, okay, game on again. Next phase, next stage. They've got to go. It's time. And I've listed them on eBay. The second I listed them, I got an inquiry from someone who said, "Do you have a buy it now option?" And I would have normally said yes, but only because of the game. I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I've just listed them. Do you mind if I let them run for the auction for a week and see what happens?" Anyway, they're listed for the most incredibly cheap price. I put them up for, I think, £30 or £35. Each one, I had it valued at a local antique centre, said that they would list each one for between 35 and 40. So these are a total bargain. I'm only doing it because I want to move the story on. They are heavily distressed with a lush, battered old knackered patina, Turkish, Arabic, Dala coffee pots. But what's different about them is that they're huge. This one is at least 16 inches, and this one is about 14 3/4 inches tall. Normally, they're about that big. They are big old beasts, fantastic patina. They do make them for the tourist market. I think these may have been for the tourist market, but they're vintage. They're definitely vintage. They've been bumped and bumped. They are also stamped by the maker. Let me find that for you. Go, there's one. It's like a sort of upside down heart with a maker's mark in the middle, which I unfortunately can't read. It's so heavy. And there's another one with a mark there. I can't read that, but if you can, you'll know who that is. They weigh an absolute ton. The postage is going to be £8, but I'll probably have to pay more than that, but I'll suck that up. But yeah, they're absolutely stunning, and they were so the rage in Elle decoration for a while, and they still are actually. They're the most perfect sort of decadent boho, exotic, luxurious accessories for a sort of a maximalist kitchen or a dining room. Really, really beautiful. Well, there they are, the current star of my just little game of trading up. Trading on up. So if you're interested in the game, please have a look on my eBay. There'll be a link to my eBay in the information underneath this video, this YouTube. So if you sort of press the little thing that says more, press that. Extra detailed information sort of about me and what have you, it's very brief, comes up. But also there'll be a live link, or it might be a cut and paste link. Let's not get too carried away. To my eBay site, and they're listed there this week. They're on auction, and that ends on Sunday. Today is Friday, the 3rd of February. So they'll end 5th of Feb. If they don't sell, I'll just keep relisting them until they do, and then the story can continue. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care. And please subscribe. Oh, that'd be fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.